Hi class, in this recording we are focusing on PhysioEx exercise number 5, activity number 3. And as we look at this activity number 3 is going to be focusing on studying the effect of the length of a blood vessel on the flow rate of the blood vessel. So as we're working through this activity, there's our introduction that talks about how blood vessel length changes. Generally speaking, as we have longer blood vessels, we have more friction, fluid friction, and that increases peripheral resistance and makes the flow rate go down. We can go back to the master equation that we talked about earlier, and we can see that the length of the blood vessel is in the denominator. So should expect mathematically an inverse relationship. As length goes up, the flow rate better go down. So work through the experiment for activity number 3, and you collect your data. And your data will look like this. As we look at our data table, blood pressure remains constant, so we ignore it. Viscosity and radius also remain constant, so we ignore those. Length is changing, and flow rate is changing. As the length increases, the flow rate decreases. And we note that as the length is on the x-axis, as length gets longer, or increases, the flow rate will decrease with a negative logarithmic slope. So as we're looking at our questions here, question number 1, is the relationship between blood vessel length and flow rate directly proportional or inversely? Well, it's inversely. As length increases, flow rate decreases. So we find that that's an inversely proportional relationship. Question number 2, which of the following can vary in size more quickly, blood vessel diameter or blood vessel length? Blood vessel diameter is much easier to change relative to blood vessel length. We can vasoconstrict or vasorelax our blood vessels very rapidly, and growing longer blood vessels takes a significant amount of time. So vasoconstriction is over seconds. Blood vessel radius can change over seconds, whereas blood vessel length will change over days or weeks. Question number 3. Describe what happens to resistance when a blood vessel, or as blood vessel length increases. What we find is that as the length increases, the resistance also increases, and that increased resistance decreases the rate of flow. Just to emphasize it again, as we plot the tube length against the flow rate, we end up with a negative logarithmic slope. And that's all we have for activity number 3. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them in the class discussion boards. Thank you.